Kent Tonight is another episode of Kent Film Club, where guests reflect on the films which have meant the most to them over the years. But before I hand over to Chris Deasy to bring you a brand new episode, he joins me in the studio to give us an idea of what's to come. Chris, I wanted to ask you this. What do you think your favourite film shows and says about you?
Well, it's interesting that all the films that, if I'm honest, I would probably pick would be from the 90s. So it's the time I went to university, but often that was the sort of an era of lots of suspense-laden films, lots of good thrillers, erotic films, all sorts of stuff like Basic Instinct or Cape Fear, some really good dramas like The Fugitive. So I think that it says a lot about that sort of sense of what the cinema can really do at its best. You know, it's really exciting, it's really visceral, and you'd watch it in those days with a huge audience, and everyone would be like, wow, you know, people in those days didn't get as many chances as they can now to watch things on social media. So of course it was a case of we read the reviews or word of mouth, and then we go and watch these exciting films, and you have to make the pilgrimage down to the cinema. So those sort of films from that era are sort of my childhood being revisited.
To get people to the cinema, it's something that we talk about as well. We spoke about that last week. So what should we be watching this week?
Well, of course, everyone has been talking about Barbie, which is a film that might be coming up in tonight's episode. But I was really impressed by a Korean film called Past Lives. Now, I was at the Sundance Film Festival earlier in the year, and I couldn't get to see this film because it was sold out. But it's now showing all the way across the county, and it's a brilliant film about that sort of an inversion of the sort of things you get in those Meg Ryan films, where, you know, it's always the case of these two people in love, and then they meet somebody who takes them away from, you know, from their destiny. This is a film that says, what about our childhood loves? The people that we met when we were young are really the people that we should be with forever. And it deals with lots of Hindu and Buddhist motifs around return and about love and destiny and karma. So I was so impressed. Partly set in America, partly set in Korea, and a film that I think resonates with a lot of people.
Amazing. And very quickly, we don't have long left, but a little idea of what's to come tonight.
So we've got Krisha Waldock, who's going to be doing who's doing a wonderful piece of work actually on disability and autism and religion, and she's choosing 4 fascinating films, including, it must be said, Barbie. Now, a bit of a clue, Barbie will be coming up in a future episode as well, but of course, as is always the case, when people choose their favourite films, they do so for all sorts of reasons, male, female, from, you know, different age groups, demographics, so I think you'll be in for a treat tonight.
Amazing. Thank you so much for joining me, Chris, to give us a bit of an idea of what's to come. Pleasure as always. And finally, just